Hi everybody, here to talk about the Outequip Glacier rooftop air conditioner and 12 volt. I'll take a couple minutes here later to talk about my installation notes and some notes about the function of the air conditioner with the heat pump. I can give you a spoiler alert right now. If you don't want to sit through all the rest of this video, I will highlight some positives and negatives of it, but ultimately, after a month of using it, it is something we're pretty happy with, and we would do it again. So if it's not obvious already, I'm not much of a video editor, not much of an on-screen presenter, and I'm going to work. I'll admit right away, I'm going to work from some notes here, but we'll try to chop a lot of the awkward stuff out. Try to make this a useful video so you can make an educated decision about what air conditioner you put on your van. A couple of the things that contributed to us moving forward with this particular unit were Outequip's support in the way that they answered my questions while I was deciding which air conditioner to buy. People have complained that they don't have a brick and mortar in the US. I mean, I do see the detraction in that. It's probably made in China if I looked, and I get that, and that was a challenge for me. But ultimately, at the price point and the way that they support it, I think somebody in a warehouse in California is answering questions, and I had some technical questions about it, and they were really thorough and pretty prompt about getting back. The second thing that made it easier for me to make the decision was an individual named Jason. He has a channel on YouTube called Primal Outdoors. I don't know him at all. He did an installation video and a mock-up, and was humble enough to share some of his mistakes, and I thought that was really constructive, and was able to use those to my advantage and work from those. So shout out to that guy, and thanks to him. Functional notes. I have no way of actually testing that this is actually putting out 11,500 British thermal units of cooling. It does jam into the van. This van is a 20 Transit. It's mostly insulated with 3M Thinsulate 600L. The doors are not insulated yet. This air conditioner on turbo mode won't keep this van in the 70s in direct sunlight on a 90-degree day. That's just the fact of the situation. We did recently buy window covers for the whole thing. With those on, it's going to make an immense difference. I haven't done a practical test with scientific measurements and stuff yet, but that being the case, it still didn't make me regret not buying the thing. The reason we bought the van was because of this knucklehead right here. Lay down. And then we got the van. It's like, all right, how do we keep the knucklehead alive in the van in the sun, right? If I have to run inside somewhere, if I have to be inside for a couple hours and leave her out. So that was a driving factor behind, putting an air conditioner in. Obviously, along with the other creature comforts. We're in Michigan, which, we've had an exceptionally hot summer, but, this isn't Tennessee or Texas or Florida or any of those other 28, 40 states that are hotter than this. I did buy the version with the 8,500 BTU heat pump. In the winter, I use a diesel heater that I think is rated at 30,000 BTUs, and I can keep this thing at 70 degrees in just about any weather. That's not my expectation with this 8,500 BTU heat pump. Like a lot of the other reviews have said, it's just meant to take the chill off in the morning. I will admit I'm getting a little bit ambitious with the window covers, and with us planning on insulating the doors. Maybe hauling out that diesel heater will be something I have to do, a little bit less often. We were up in the forest 2 weekends ago, and it got unexpectedly cold, and we were really thankful to have that little 8,500 BTU heater. So right out the gate, that was a benefit. I guess, for the added cost, I can't see why you wouldn't. If you're hauling out a space heater or something like that, which I think those are rated pretty similar, that's one thing you can just take out of your boxes or your storage in your van. get rid of the space heater, get the heat pump inside of the air conditioner, and it's one less thing you got to lug around and trip over in the van. This particular 12 volt Glacier is rated for 60 amps in turbo mode. I've measured it pulling as much as 58 amps. I have it on a 60 amp mega fuse on my bus bar. It comes with a 100 amp blade fuse in line on the provided wiring. I didn't take that out, but I might, because it's an open blade fuse. It doesn't look very protected or substantial, and I wouldn't even know how to replace it in the field if I had to. So with having that beefy 60 amp mega fuse in my bus bar, it's a Victron Lynx, you know, it makes that 100 amp fuse redundant. Okay, some installation notes. Not okay to you. You can sit back down, buddy. The installation template that our friend Jason with Primal Outdoors fumbled with in his video, by him making that mistake and being upfront about it, I was able to dodge that particular bullet. It's still challenging to drill through the top. I'm not that handy of a guy. I mean, I would think I'm barely on to the DIY spectrum. I have a couple tools from Harbor Freight. I'm a music guy, I'm a tech guy, I'm a computer guy. So it was pretty intimidating to cut a hole in the roof of my treasured van. I will admit, I was lucky enough to have a cousin with a forklift, so we were able to use that. But I wouldn't let that deter me from doing it again. That wasn't part of my plan when I bought the air conditioner. It was just something that I got lucky with when I happened to be installing it close to his place. So the installation template's not perfect. I used I had a bunch of different tools, like a nice like rotozip type of saw at my disposal. The best blade for cutting the hole in the van ended up being a Harbor Freight jigsaw. It went through this van skin like butter. It was not, my cutting wasn't that great. I had to do it a couple times. So keep that in mind. Had to re-drill a couple holes through the template. Just laying that template on the roof and measuring, you just got to do your best with it, and try not to hack too many holes. I grew up around boats, and one thing that you learn around fiberglass is once you cut that stuff, man, there's no going back. So a 30-year-old boat that's changed hand 5 times, it's like you hope it didn't come from guys who are being haphazard with their projects, because I've tried not to put too many holes in this thing, because once you hack it, man, there's no going back. But for that reason, we've avoided putting windows in the side or flares or any of that stuff, or I have a boatload of solar panels in my garage that I haven't done anything with. I'm just too nervous to poke holes in the roof of the van for those. So this was a big deal. Hacking a hole in the roof and breaking through that was what I used was an adapter from an outfit called DYIvan. They're really well known in the van world and in the self-conversion van world, as evidenced in their name. I'll drop a link to their product in the comments here on this video, and they don't make a specific adapter for this air conditioner, probably because they don't sell it, but it's a specific adapter for the van that you have, and I think they make one that conforms to the roof of all 3 vans. And they, again, were super helpful in their support. Don't hesitate to do business with them. I think I've bought some other stuff from them before, and I absolutely owe them another order just because of their help. The adapter that I used for this air conditioner from DYIvan was called a Be Cool 1200, and I had to cut the front off of it because it was just excessive. This must have been a smaller footprint or a different footprint. I did not use the supplied gasket that came with this air conditioner. I used the gasket that came with the DIYvan template, and it just seemed a lot more substantial. And another important note, I did use the method of notching out the gasket. I did notch out the gasket and run the power cable from the outside of the air conditioner down in through the gasket. This is a sealed air box, which is different from lower model Outequip air conditioners. People have talked about if you don't get it lined up right, it won't, you can see sunlight through the top, and rain will come in through the fan. This is a different unit. When I got it, I looked at it right away for those things that people talked about, and I realized quickly that this is not that model. This is a sealed air box, which, I mean, I think to anybody that would be a superior way of doing things. If you watch the DYIvan installation videos for their products, they sell another product outside of their adapter for reinforcing underneath of air conditioners and fans. I had a bunch of aluminum tubing left over from other parts of this project. So what I did was fabricate those, as much as a guy like me can fabricate anything other than a BS story. What I did was made those fit, between the pillars, and I'll try to get a picture and pop it in here, but anchored those in so that the roof wasn't flopping up and down with the weight of the air conditioners. That's, so far in the month that I've had it, seems to have been a good choice. So we're happy about that. I will say, driving through the forest or maybe on some dirt roads and stuff, that, the thing does move. It's not the creakiest thing in this project. That's like a game of whack-a-mole for any of you people that are doing your own van project. But for the most part, I don't think there's any question that putting some type of reinforcement under the van skin between the pillars has made it exponentially more rigid. So another note about the hardware provided with this unit, the studs that thread into the air conditioner, into those brass fittings and down and out, were pretty crooked. I can't say for sure they were bent. I don't think the fittings were mounted crookedly, so the hardware must have been bent. So I had to flip them upside down. Got really lucky with the amount of thread that was left on the bottom of them, so I could still attach my shroud. That's just a characteristic of how much stuff I had between with my reinforcement and the shroud and all that stuff. What I might have done, or I might do next time, or I might advise, is get some threaded rod that matches the thread type of this, cut it to length after you get it in, or before you put it on. Make sure it's straight, because if you're going through, if you're putting 8 studs through 8-10 inches of stuff in your ceiling, they've got to be straight, otherwise they won't line up and you'll have to re-drill, which we did, and that was a bit of a struggle. So the last thing I'll say about this is, you can probably see from this behind me, the shroud that comes with it is just a cream colored shroud that matches the air handler unit. I rattle canned mine black. Took 4 or 6 coats or something like that, just so it kind of blends in with my unfinished ceiling. As you can see, this is not an Instagram van, but that shroud blends in pretty nice, and I stuffed a bunch of insulation above it to keep it from flopping around. So in summary, again, not perfect, great, but just for the price point and the support, I would say, if we get a few years out of this thing and it doesn't die this winter, if it won't fire up in May next year, then that's going to really stink. But it seems like they're a responsive organization. Maybe someday they'll get a brick and mortar in the U.S. to make the trust level a little bit higher. But for the most part, would do it again, and I'm pretty happy with how things went. So good luck to you all in your projects. Where they threaded into or anything like that. Lay down. Down. Shut the f up. Stay. So another note about the hardware provided with